Want the inside scoop on this game and all things Trojans? Be sure to sign up for the 3 Torches presented by Smart & Final. It's a free newsletter that'll hit your email inbox 3 times a week with game info, player insights, and more. Go to usctrojans.com/3torches and sign up. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, and Keely Orr, our USC football insider, joins us now. We were sort of talking about this in the break, and I'm sure our chat's popping, which we love to hear on the YouTube feed. But it's a general sense of anxiety out there in the fan reaction world. I thought Sean and Coach had a pretty good conversation about it. But my take on it, Keely, is it's this sort of like it's the way the schedule was laid out. So the Trojans never really had a chance to truly prove themselves in the first half of the season. So everything is about proving yourself by winning pretty because there hasn't been a win to go get. And then there's this just fear of the second half of the schedule. What's the sense that you're getting from all the sort of anxiety around the way they're winning?
Yeah, it's hard. And I think Coach made a good point. Like, you don't want to be miserable in the football season. The team is 5-0. Not many teams are undefeated at this point. And, he's had a track record so far here at USC where they've fixed the things that they said they're going to fix. So I do think it's what you think, Jordan. It's schedule anxiety in the sense of like, well, the transitive property, if they had played this way against this team at this week, and you can't really do that in college football, especially when you think about the injuries. I do think not having Max Williams hurt USC's defense. But again, it's you saw them come out with energy because they were expecting a tough opponent in Colorado, and then they went up 34-7, and then, like Coach admitted, they kind of lost focus a little bit. So will they lose that focus with other teams? I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see.
And Max, just looking around the landscape, Coach brought up Georgia, but just looking at the Pac-12 and USC's future schedule, Washington had a very similar game against Arizona over the weekend, and Oregon played a very poor first half against Stanford. They ultimately win 42-6 or something, so they nothing that you would complain about, certainly, but maybe inside in their fan base, who knows? As Sean said, sort of everyone's looking at everything like this now, nitpicking things.
Yeah, it's the comparison game. I think the average football fan sees what Oregon did to Colorado in their own house and says, oh, we should do the exact same thing. Oh, but wait a sec, it's on the road in Folsom Field. And then the flip side's also true. Look what we did to Stanford. We blew them out of the water. And like you said, Stanford was up late into the second quarter in that football game. And so that's why you play the game. It's the classic cliche coaches talk, but it's real, and it's especially real this year with there's just better football teams in the conference. Colorado is not what Colorado was. They can score and get back into games because that's a good offense.
And that's why it doesn't stress me out, Sean, because there were those times in the late 2000s after you left where USC, and maybe the fans still have the scar tissue from stuff like this, where they didn't get to go to the big game because the schedule was so weak and they sort of didn't have the beauty contest, or they played one bad half of football up at Oregon State in 2008 and it cost them a national championship. That's not going to be a problem this year. They can win every game the rest of the way by 1 point, and they will be in the playoff because there are top 10 teams on this schedule. It's all laid out. Just win the games.
Yep, it's all coming in front of us, right? We're looking at Washington, we're looking at Oregon, we're looking at Notre Dame. We're going to play these teams. We're looking at Utah. We're going to play these teams that is going to get us to the dance. And it's ultimately going to be where we land, is how we deal with these games. And yeah, was it all pretty at Colorado? No, they learned some lessons there. They came out. I thought they came out. It was a fantastic first half, fantastic 2.5 quarters, and then it slipped away. So it's an overreaction by fans. Even maybe myself calling the game, you get caught up in that momentum, and you get caught up. Oh my God, look at this thing that's coming back. It's falling apart. But when you get out of there with a win, it's a win, and it doesn't make sense to get so negative and so down on these W's when, like you said, you got to enjoy every single one. And the real test is coming, and we are going to find out what this team really is.
And you're just always in great hands with Caleb Williams, and that's sort of what I go back to. And you can say, okay, this isn't perfect and that isn't perfect, but, man, this has really become a quarterback sport. And Brendan Rice said it well. At times it's easy to take it for granted. Just looking at his numbers, Keely, he is vastly outpacing what he did last year at this point, and that was obviously a Heisman Trophy winning season.
Yeah, he has 9 more touchdowns so far through 5 games than he did last year.
Nine more touchdowns.
9 more touchdowns with less quarters,
got the Heisman in his living room.
There are quarterbacks that don't have 9 touchdowns yet this season.
Yeah, he's the only quarterback with 6 touchdowns in a single game in FBS. And that's the thing too, taking him for granted. It was kind of a sidebar note, like, oh, by the way, he threw 6 touchdowns, almost tying the USC record against Colorado.
3 quarters.
Yeah, it's just it's weird. You can't take him for granted because I know USC fans will be missing him next season.
I knew he was going to have a great game. That's why I picked him for my player.
Okay, Sean.
real hot take there with a
Really went out
Yeah.
on a limb.
injury-ridden secondary and a rough defense.
But it was interesting. It was, they did, everyone looking at the defense, but the offense, did go scoreless in the fourth quarter. So, it was sort of like just the level dropped across the board. Dennis Lynch misses a kick. There was a dropped, snap. There was a snap that was kind of high. Like, it was just sort of a dropped level a little bit at the end. So to me, I get the anxiety again as last year in the defense, but it was sort of across the board at the end of that game.
Yeah, you got to play complementary football, and that's what it was really at the end. Obviously, you can't give up huge plays on defense, and you're not bailing out the defense by saying that they played great at the end. They didn't.
No.
They missed some huge tackles that they needed to play, missed some guys on the back end with some big shots, and that's why Colorado got back in it.
All right, Monster Energy is the official energy drink of USC. Unleash the beast and fight on Trojans and fly on with ONT. Ontario International Airport is a proud sponsor of our USC Trojans. Visit SoCalSoEasy.com to book your journey through ONT today. One more segment of Trojans Live coming up. Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC football. Also brings us to our over-under presented by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, and Keely Yor. A true over-under I've got this week. I've heard from some fans that my over-unders aren't true enough, but here we go. A little background to it. No USC receiver has more than 18 catches this season. That's Taj Washington, the guy that we had sitting down with us. Brendan Rice has 17 catch,es 7 for touchdowns. How's that for a ratio?
It's a good ratio.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
I only catch him if I'm standing on paint, I guess. Over under 55 catches for USC's leading receiver at the end of this season. A little more context, Jordan Addison led last year's team with 59. Taj had 50. He was second on last year's team. So I went with 55, split those two.
I'm going to over.
Max has immediately taken his calculator out.
I was counting on my fingers.
Like,
I was doing average. What do they got to average? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stall for Max. He can calculate. I'm gonna go over because I think it's gonna get a little bit tighter with the rotation. I thought you saw as the weeks have gone on, and I think as it gets tighter, you're gonna see that probably group of 4, maybe 5, 6 guys. I think that are gonna be catching balls, and I think Caleb's gonna start leaning on his guys.
Do you think it's Taj or Rice?
I think,
or maybe somebody else.
Brendan Rice.
I'm going under as well. Did some quick math.
I think Sean went over.
I went over. You're going.
Oh, I'm under. I'm
under by
He's
yourself.
calculating.
Yeah, you got to have basically average 5 catches a game, and I feel like Zachariah Branch is the kicker. I feel like there's more left in him to unlock, and if he's taking some of those catches away from the other guys, I'm going under.
I'm going over, and I think that's all the time I have.
Yeah, Max ate it up.
Who do you have doing
Rice.
it? Rice also?
Yeah, I think
he's
so.
really become a go-to guy for sure. Taj, though, I mean, right there, he had 50 last year, as we said, and he is leading the team in catches so far this season. Trojans Live is a production of USC Sports Properties and Playfly Sports. Our executive producer is Drew DeHart. Producers Rick Cutler. He's also the engineer tonight. Production assistance by Herman Aguilera back at the studio. Thank you to everybody for following along. Thanks for jumping in our chat on YouTube. Please do all season long and listening to us across the USC Trojans Media Network. We'll be back on Saturday night. Trojan Tailgate Show goes live at 5:30 p.m. Until then, fight on, everybody.